Hey everybody, welcome back to the Risen Empire. I'm your host David.
And I'm Ethan.
Let's take a look at all the details, references, and secrets in the first episode of the brand new Disney Plus adaptation of Percy Jackson by Rick Riordan.
Mm-hmm.
This is, of course, the second attempt they've made at adapting this work, and we've been promised a much more faithful adaptation this time.
Oh, we can certainly hope so.
Yep, I'm excited because we've got Rick Riordan serving as our head writer, head creator, and an executive producer. So there's some hope that this one should be a little bit better.
Yeah, the first episode is titled "I Accidentally Vaporized My Pre-Algebra Teacher," which is the same. Yeah, which is the same as the first chapter in the novel, the same name. So a nice nod to the source material there.
Definitely.
That immediately gave me, and I'm assuming you as well, much more confidence with this series.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Every episode in the season actually has a title pulled from one of the chapters, so that's a cool little factoid.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll have to look at that as we go.
Mm-hmm.
So the episode actually opens with the first few lines of the book. Look, I didn't want to be a half-blood. It does leave out some of the other lines from the introduction. Mostly those that are talking directly to you as a reader.
Makes sense.
Which makes sense to leave out.
Yeah.
But it absolutely captures the essence of the story.
100%, yeah.
So the first few shots of the episode are created for the series.
Yeah.
They don't appear in the book. We see a young, probably de-aged, I think, Percy Jackson, who's played by Walker Scobell. He sees a Pegasus and a giant rhinoceros-like creature, which clearly only he can see. And we get a bit of fairly well-structured exposition kind of telling us the mindset of his character and what his life is really like.
Yeah. The episode kind of rushes into showing some of the fantastical elements of the story, as one might do for a TV show.
Sure.
Since it's made for younger viewers, I understand this, but I can enjoy the Jaws effect, where it kind of takes a while to build, and I think it makes better suspense.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It does kind of blitz you straight into that stuff. There's
Yeah,
a
it
lot
does.
more. A lot more of the questions are answered right away in this story than are answered in the book that way.
Yeah, there's definitely more of an info dump.
Yeah, for sure. Which I get. Again, it's made for a younger audience, so it kind of makes sense.
It does, it does.
So next we're introduced to Grover, played by Aryan Simhadri, and I am deeply sorry for my pronunciation on that. We see how he's kind of teaching Percy the stories of Greek mythology. They're playing a card game they call Myth-O-Magic.
Yeah, yeah.
Clearly inspired by the card game Magic the Gathering, which I love. So he's showing him how the stories work and like who the characters are. And if you note, actually, one of the cards that he's holding is actually a Minotaur.
In his underwear.
In his underwear in that really brief scene.
Yep.
So next up, we join Percy on a field trip to a museum with his school. So after a brief altercation with Nancy, who seems to be kind of his principal bully there, he like force pushes her.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Into a fountain, which was kind of cool. And immediately this one teacher whips around Mrs. Dodds. Transforms into this like leathery winged demon thing and just launches herself at him.
Yeah.
In the book, I think she's called a kindly one.
Isn't that what the three women are?
No, those I think are the Fates.
They are, but you're not supposed to call them by name.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Mrs. Dodds was one of the kindly ones.
We'll put a pin there.
We will. But she demands, "Where is it? Half-blood, where is it?" And she attacks Percy.
Yeah.
But he's got this magical pen that was given to him by Professor Brunner. It transforms into this bronze sword.
Yep, which is cool.
Yep, and kills Mrs. Dodds instantly, and she dusts like Thanos was there. After that, nobody else seems to remember her being there, and then Percy's like instantly expelled from school for fighting.
Yeah, in the book, this whole scene plays out pretty differently, happening away from the other students inside the museum rather than outside, like it was in the TV show.
Okay,
and
I know you read the books a lot more recently than I did.
I just did. It was interesting, kind of the juxtaposition between the TV show and the book there. In the book, Professor Brunner kind of butts in the middle of the fight and gives Percy the pen then, rather than giving it to him earlier on.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
It is kind of just a random difference there in the book.
And what, he just nopes right out?
It seems to, kind of, yeah. It's weird.
Okay.
But just like in the show, no one else can remember that she's been there after she's been destroyed. So they carried that over. In the show, when Grover and Percy are being interviewed by, I believe there's a principal.
Yeah.
Grover kind of turns on Percy. He kind of throws him under the bus.
He does.
Yeah.
Which I don't think happened. In
No,
the book.
in the show, he told the principal that Percy wanted to fight Nancy. Effectively, he was the one who effectively got Percy kicked out of school. In the book, Grover actually immediately takes the blame for it.
Does he?
He
Okay.
does. Rather than blaming Percy for it, he immediately takes the blame for it himself. And Percy isn't expelled until a few weeks later after his grades start slipping, and he ends up yelling at a teacher.
Oh, all right. Well, that's different. I get it, though. You want to get through a lot of that in the first episode.
It is. They definitely took a lot of parts that were spread out more throughout the books and condensed them more into an episode, just so people can figure out what's going on a little quicker,
Okay.
I think.
I mean, that makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
So the show skips the entire next chapter of the book.
Yep.
And takes us right to Percy's house after he gets home from school. That's the chapter with the fates.
Yes, it is.
Where he sees the three sisters on the bus.
Yeah.
Who are supposed to be the Greek fates that spin destiny and lives.
And cut the threads.
Yep. So we get to his house and we see that the level of toxicity in his household is just crazy. We get to meet his charming stepfather, Gabe, played by Tim Sharp.
Yeah.
Who gives Percy a hard time for getting kicked out of school.
Yeah.
And we learn that this has happened a few times. Percy's been expelled more than once here. And I really, really love Walker Scobell in this role.
Yeah.
I think he's doing an incredible job carrying this.
He really is.
Which is so difficult for a kid. It's not something that kids can do naturally or well. So it's impressive to see what a great job he's really doing.
It really is, yeah.
During the argument with his stepfather, Percy, he's so quick-witted, he's so confident in standing up for himself, jabbing back at his stepfather.
Yeah.
And the line where his stepfather goes, "I'm working, can't you see what I'm doing?" And he goes, "What, losing an imaginary poker?" I think that was my favorite line from this episode.
It was hysterical, perfect delivery, and you can just tell that he's just done with it.
Yep, that one was great.
Percy's just done with his stepfather. So then Percy goes and finds his mother sitting alone in the rain on their balcony.
Okay, that's a different way to do it, but all right.
It's a choice. And the two share actually a wonderful personal scene where Percy confesses he's scared of what's been happening to him. Which is understandable, I think.
It shows.
This is really a strength of this series adaptation. The character moments between these really, really well fleshed out characters, even in the brief period of time we've seen them. They're there.
For sure.
It can take time to slow down, give us these character-driven moments. And Virginia Cull, who plays Percy's mother,
Yep.
She drives an excellent scene. I think she's one of the best parts of the show so far. And another great casting choice.
I agree. No, she's awesome. She's really, really well cast in this.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good casting so far, which we'll get into further in the episodes after we meet a couple more characters.
Well, she's confident but also considerate of him.
Yeah.
She speaks to him like a human being, not like just another kid.
They have great chemistry on screen as a mother and son pair.
They do,
Yeah.
and you don't see that a lot, especially in kids shows. Kids always have problems with their parents.
Yeah.
There's always fighting. And I mean, he's got a stepdad for that.
That's
but
true.
his mother is really supportive. She
Yeah.
doesn't treat him like he's crazy. I mean, she knows more than he does, obviously.
true.
So when they set off for Montauk Beach, Percy has some sort of like vision of a ghostly figure who's like, "Who are you, half-blood?" and tells him to like run away before you get hurt. And was that in the book?
Not that I can recall just like that. I could be totally spacing on that, but I don't believe so.
Okay, cool. If you know, drop it in the comments and let us know, because
Yeah.
I couldn't find it. I don't think that's in the book.
I don't think so.
It was weird.
It's also recurring in the first episode or two.
It is.
Yeah.
He's got that moment. We've seen the second episode already. We're
We
just
have.
going through the first one here.
That's true.
After that, we get another really quiet, subdued scene between Percy and his mom, and another really stellar performance from Walker. He breaks down, and in a way that's really hard for kids.
Yeah.
I mean, totally sells it. He says, there's something wrong with my brain. I understand that I'm weird, but I'm afraid that something may be really broken.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough for a kid to come out and say anything deep and meaningful like that to a parent.
He is, and he sells it from his soul. He really does. And that's where his mom tells him that she loves him, she supports him, and then kind of info dumps a lot of stuff that I think Percy learns about later in the book.
He does. He learns it from Professor Brunner, who, as we will learn later on, is different than he appears in the first episode.
Yep, let's try to stay away from
We won't spoil
spoilers
any
if we
subsequent
can
episodes.
here.
Yeah.
So she tells Percy that his father was a god, and we start to learn the premise of the show. the basic crux of the whole series is that Percy is a demigod. He's a half-blood, half-human, half-god.
Okay.
And because of that, he's going to be in constant, terrible danger.
Yeah.
Monsters and evil forces are going to be drawn to him and try to destroy him. And while she's starting to explain this, Grover arrives, apparently early,
Yep.
from what their plan had been. And we see that he is a satyr, complete with the legs and horns of a goat.
Much to Percy's surprise.
Oh, abject shock.
Yeah.
And again, like, really does a great job in that role.
Yeah.
And we learn that Grover's been kind of watching and training Percy for months, getting him ready for his future at the camp.
Which is what the card game that he was showing him was.
Yeah, the Myth of Magic game. Yep. So their conversation continues as they start to driving toward Camp Half-Blood, where Percy is going to be safe. And this is another part where it sort of diverges.
It does.
From the book a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, I know you just read the book.
I did. So essentially, they're in the car, and the Minotaur attacks, and Percy's mom pretty much just gets out and fights and dies, if I'm recalling that correctly. So in the show, what happens is after the car crash, because the car crashes, the Minotaur pushes them off the road.
Okay.
They get out, and then they have this inexplicably long conversation that takes forever, rather than just running off to safety, because they're right by the border of the camp, Half-Blood, literally 100 yards away, and they just stand there talking for 5 minutes.
Oh, that drove me crazy. We watched it together. We're both sitting here going, come on, will you go?
Yeah.
You're good. Oh my God, that scene drove me nuts.
Yeah, like I understood why it was there. They needed to have that moment between Percy and his mom, but it could have been 3 lines. Instead, they stand there literally talking for 5 minutes rather than running the 100 yards to get away from the Minotaur.
Yep. I mean, it would have taken them less time to get to safety.
Yeah.
Than they spent talking about getting to safety.
Oh, yes, much less.
And like
much
in the
less.
book, you know, right after the crash, they're chasing through the woods, and so it makes more sense.
Right, yeah.
That Percy's there when his mother, like, has to sacrifice herself.
No.
But she says, you know, oh, well, it smells half-blood, so give me your jacket and I'll go this. It's still way off in the woods roaring.
Yeah. I really don't quite understand their decision-making for that scene for the show. Like, I get it. It adds drama, but it also just... It's unnecessary.
It was so... I hate scenes like that.
Yeah.
It's such a trope. You know, it happens
is.
in movies and shows all the time.
Where time just freezes so they can have a dialogue.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful moment between him and his mom, but it was just completely unnecessary. And then Percy watches his mother go and sacrifice herself for him. And immediately he's like, nope, and just runs in to go fight this mythical beast.
Completely disregards her attempt to keep him safe.
Yep. And he ends up defeating the Minotaur pretty much the same way he does in the book, I think.
Yeah, he rips off his horn and stabs it. In the show, he stabs the Minotaur in the head. In the book, I believe he stabs him in the stomach with the horn.
Okay.
So just a little difference there.
Makes sense. So then the Minotaur dusts away like Thanos was there. And then Percy passes out.
Yep.
And then he has like some flashy moments of awareness, some shuffle.
Yep.
And then the final shots of the episode show Percy waking up, all bleary-eyed, and he sees the silhouette of a centaur who greets him by name and says, "Welcome, Percy Jackson, to Camp Half-Blood." And the episode ends.
Yeah, it's a strong ending. It really is.
It is. It's got a great hook.
It does.
Really makes you want to see more.
I will say, when we finished watching that first episode together, the first thought we both had was, okay, well, now we have to watch the next one.
Yep, and we put on the second one right away.
Yeah, so it worked.
Yeah, I thought it was a really strong episode. I'm excited to see the rest of the series and see where it's going.
Yeah.
Clearly, they're paying a lot more attention to the source material.
Very much so.
It's clearly crafted with more love and care.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love the little differences we're seeing. I suspect these are things that Rick Riordan's been thinking about for years.
Probably, yeah. This is some of his chance to get some of his ideas maybe out there.
It is.
Yeah.
Between differences from the book, differences from the movie, all of that.
Yeah.
You know, I love the little elements that they throw in here, like the blue food.
Yeah.
You know, which in the book I think was an inside joke between him and his mom, right?
It was, yeah, because Percy's stepfather, he made the claim that there's no such thing as blue food.
Okay.
So Percy's mom, now every chance she can, she buys blue food, whether it's blue potato chips, blue dip, or whatever it is, blue candy, and that's what she gives him, is a bag of blue food, and that's kind of a reference to that inside joke they have.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I also really, really loved the cinematography, and this is something I don't think you really even noticed because you didn't mention it. But every shot of this show, every one of them so far, has been shot from a child's perspective.
Yeah, it has.
And you get cool. that grandeur from that.
The world just seems a little bit bigger.
It does.
Yeah.
You know? And I like that the scenes are intimate and tight. You know, it's not all these grand, broad shots. And I'm sure we'll get plenty of those later.
I'm sure we will, yeah. But it's more from a kid's perspective. During a panicking situation, you're going to be in a little... Your sphere of awareness doesn't necessarily stretch very far.
Sure, it shrinks way down, absolutely, which makes sense. But I noticed that angle instantly, and I loved it. It's something that I love about certain kinds of cinema.
Yeah.
You know, like the first Godzilla movie with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
That one, the whole thing's shot from a human's perspective. And you just see this giant monster, and it gives you this unbelievable sense of scale.
Yeah.
And then in the second one, it's all drone shots. And you're like flying through the battles.
Yeah, you just completely lose all scale.
Yeah, and it's cool and it looks great, but I don't want Iron Man when I'm fighting Godzilla.
Right.
I want to be a human on the ground. I want to feel that. And I think that was just a great touch by Pierre Gill, who's serving as the director of photography on this series. Just doing a great job and really making it feel organic and real.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple of other things I noticed in the series. While they're driving in the car, right before the car crash, Grover is like losing his mind and just getting more and more rambly, trying to give Percy as much information as he can before they get hit. You know, well, once it starts, it never stops, and blah, 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 blah. And then he just totally blurts out, he's like, and I'm 24. Just out of the blue. Which
is totally random. And I think he was 28 in the book.
He was, okay. I thought he was a little bit older.
Yeah, which is a random difference they chose there. But
it is. Either way, it's a little creepy. He's hanging out with a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, double his age, slightly more than double his age. Either way, not really what you want.
No.
The end credits are also just beautifully crafted.
They are.
They're full of Easter eggs. We're going to be breaking all of those down in a future video upcoming really soon here.
Yep.
I have watched those 4 times and still am finding more and more Easter eggs hidden in there. Not just from the first book.
Yeah.
But from some of the other books as well.
Okay, wow.
Which are cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to be going through those really carefully with you guys.
And the artwork is beautiful.
It is. Another thing that I really loved, speaking of beautiful artwork and just feeling immersed in the story, you and I both suffer from ADHD and dyslexia, effectively crippling. So, and that scene at the beginning where he's looking at his book and the letters and numbers are all just swirling into each other, has got to be one of the most on point, like, examples of that feeling that I've ever seen. And I don't think I could have crafted it better.
No, not at all. And again, we're not the target demographic of this show. We know this.
Yeah, very true.
But we also suffer from both ADHD and dyslexia, so we're feeling it.
Yeah, it's a much bigger part in the book.
Yeah, for sure.
His ADHD, his dyslexia, his neurodivergence is a bigger focus in the series. I hope that they bring that more into the series.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of superheroes with ADHD.
That's true. That's very true.
So I like that.
Yeah.
You know, we have Tony Stark.
That's true.
That's about the only one. So that's about all we have time for today, folks. What did you guys think of this episode? Are you as excited about this as we are? What are some of the Easter eggs you guys noticed that we didn't have time to talk about? Put your thoughts down in the comments below. We're going to be breaking down each and every episode with you, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. For now, if you're still here, check out this video where we actually compared the trailer for that first absolutely awful movie with the trailer for the Disney Plus series, and a lot of excitement there.
World of difference.
Oh, huge difference already. So until next time, everybody, for the Risen Empire, I'm David.
And I'm Ethan.
And we'll see you next time.
Later, guys.